Dr. Anna Claudia Rosa, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Boundless Body Radio.
Thank you so much, Casey. I am very honored to be here, sharing my journey, sharing my service, sharing my work, and sharing my knowledge and my wisdom and my heart with you and your
Uh,
followers and your and
well,
your people who are now my people too.
exactly. We loved your first appearance. You taught us a lot about visceral fat and the importance of it, and how you had been in your journey, learning about that and practicing in that way. As we typically prepare for an interview, I always like to reach out to my guests to say like, hey, is there anything in particular you want to talk about? You had reached out to me, and we kind of had a discussion going, and you said that you had just done a presentation about visceral fat, of course, your area of expertise, and you also gave a presentation about gratitude. And I thought in my head, like, okay, like gratitude, like that's a great thing to talk about. It's a little woo woo and there's not a lot of science to it, but sure, like everybody loves a good gratitude practice and we could be doing it a lot more. And as I was deep diving into your presentation and how much you had learned about gratitude, I realized there is a lot more science behind gratitude, and there's a lot more to consider that I had even taken into account as far as gratitude goes. And again, I consider it one of my favorite practices that I try to implement it as often as I can. But learning from you about it, it went much deeper than I thought. So where I thought this conversation would be mostly just about visceral fat and a little bit about gratitude, I'm thinking we're going to spend a lot more time talking about gratitude. So I'm really looking forward to that for sure. You mentioned journeys, and you've gone on several, and I just want to say, like, just visually, just looking at you, I know it's not about body image or anything like that, but you look fantastic. Can you tell us about your health journey in the last several years?
Yes, thank you so much for the compliment. And I'm very grateful that I decided to say yes to myself, decided to say yes to my life, reframed my mindset, shift my perspective and stopped sabotaging myself. I have dealt with being overweight my whole life. And since I remember as a teenager, and I was always on a yo-yo like way of living. I would be more weight heavy and less heavy. And I would always find a way of sabotaging myself because I was eating to numb my feelings, my emotions, my fear, and I had to learn in these last 2 to 3 years how to reframe that and how to break these sabotaging patterns and behaviors. That's why mindset is so important. So when my husband died from colon cancer stage 4 in 2016, I had walked with him the journey of anticipatory grief and his own disease. So I gained like a lot of weight from 2013 until 2016, from his diagnosis to his death. And I was at my highest weight, which was 226 pounds. I do see now that the weight is so important because it's what's happening on the outside. And like you said, that's what people see, the body image. But I do see now that what's happening on the inside was way heavier, like the sadness, the loneliness, the lack of activity. I was very sedentary. I didn't like walking. I didn't like strength training, and the sleep was very disrupted because I was going through grief. I wouldn't drink water. Oh my god, I didn't even like water. I would drink Coke Zero. Coke Zero was my water. And again, I would not be mindful in eating. I would just eat whatever I would want. And the lack of energy, the lack of vitality, all the time feeling tired and foggy, brain fog, that I attributed to grief, but was also due to all the inflammation that I was having in my body. The cortisol from the stress, the cortisol from being overweight and having too much visceral fat, all the inflammation going on, right? The blood sugar high, pre-diabetes, and asthma, and rosacea, and eosinophilic esophagitis, and gastroesophageal reflux, and not sleeping, and oh, I don't want to walk because it hurts. Of course it hurts. Your muscles are becoming fatty, your bones are becoming frail. So you have to, I did have to focus on moving my mindset to a different point. And then in 2020, but then I started a keto diet, and I was able to go from 226 to 100 78, and I was following a lot of Dr. Eric Berg uh, knowledge. I even got a certification with him at that time because I wanted to learn so much. My brain, I have ADHD, and I got just recently got diagnosed. So my brain, when it finds something that it loves, just wants to learn more and more and more and more and more. So I did get the certification with him, and then in 2000, so again, in 2018, 19, I was 186. And then I went to the VA, and that's when I met Dr. Omar Shan, my friend, my mentor, my guide, and I work with him as well now. Uh, and he taught me about visceral fat, and he taught me about his strategies, and I started doing them. I failed because my mindset was not, again, connected to the strategies. I got better, but I failed, and I would fail and I would not come back, because failure for me is not when you get out of the track, is when you don't find yourself able to come back to the track. When you come back to the track, your fail, quote unquote, becomes a lesson. It's a failure in the system or in the process, not in myself. I just have to reevaluate where the problem happened and find a different way to make it work, right? Make it easy, make it fun, like Mel Robbins said, because I got some courses with her too. So now I'm using all the courses that I have done for myself to help others as well. But anyway, Sean, 2020, and then 2022, I moved here to another state, and we kind of lost connection. And he came to Nebraska to talk for a keto summit with Dr. James Seaman, which is now my gynecologist doctor, menopause doctor. And he invited me, come, I miss you, I want to see you, let's talk about everything. And then I went, and it was really amazing because it was a gift from God. I'm very faithful because He brought me on track, and He added me to the Alpha group, accountability, partnership, community, connection. It's really important, to keep yourself on track. People, like-minded people, right? Like-minded people. And then I started. So definitely I started in 2022, probably around September 2022. And slowly but surely now, I am way better. If you are going to look at the weight on the scale, I'm going to say that today in the morning I weighted 138 pounds. That's definitely not, and I was 186, 190 something, 200 something. So it is a victory, and I celebrate it because it's a way of releasing my own dopamine and my brain trusting me. However, more than the weight on the scale, I feel good. I feel alive. I feel connected with my heart, connected with my service, my purpose. I feel joy, I have energy. I crave going to my strength training. I don't do anything. It's really rare to see me doing something sitting down. When I am on my phone or a meeting, I'm always walking around my house, when the weather is bad. It's just like I became everything that I started doing, and I kept repeating, and then it became who I am. Yeah, and I'm grateful because it's a completely different life. I don't have asthma anymore. I don't have rosacea anymore. I do not have reflux. I sleep better. I track my sleep with the Aura Ring, and I love it. Not making any propaganda of the Aura Ring. I just love it for myself because it definitely keeps me aware of my sleep. And it's so interesting because I am experimenting with my body, right? Everything that I'm talking, I'm walking, and I'm experimenting with my body. So the Aura Ring is like, I really didn't sleep well last night. Let's see what the Aura Ring is going to say. And then, oh, I don't have much energy for this and that. Let's see what the Aura Ring is going to say. And then I'm connecting the dots, which is like, I had a DEXA scan, I had a bioimpedance test. So I would say if you have a bioimpedance in your gym, and you are not able to pay for a DEXA scan, or is it hard, or it is harder for you, either both of them are so similar in results, it doesn't really matter. you know. And then I had my own MRI, and there is a difference because uh, both of them, the bioimpedance and the DEXA, they give you numbers, and the MRI give you the visual, right? And it's really good when you have the MRI that you see not only improvement in the quantity, decreasing the fat, but you also see improvement in the quality of the fat. Like you are losing the epicardial adipose tissue, which is the first one you lose surrounding your heart because it's the heart attack cause, right? And then the body knows better and heals inside out. Then you lose the visceral fat, which is the inflammatory production all the time as well. And then you start losing your deep subcutaneous fat, and you keep your superficial subcutaneous fat as much as possible because it's the beneficial one. So when you have the MRI, you see all these changes, and it's so good because for me, as I am 54 and I am in menopause since 47, and because I removed my ovary surgically, and I'm taking hormone replacement therapy since then. For me, what is really amazing for an extremely workaholic and sedentary person is being able to see that I am building muscle, either in the DEXA or the bioimpedance, but also in the MRI. When I see that my muscles have less fat, that my bone density is better, that my bones are thicker in the MRI. So I would say get the strategies and work on your mindset and keep doing one step at a time with kindness to you, doing your best. You are going to have progress. It's not about perfection, it's progress because if you get better, there will always be room for improvement. While we are alive, there is always room for improvement, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Being in the low carbohydrate and ketogenic space for as long as I have, it's so easy visually to see when somebody has lost weight, how they've done it. And again, just looking at you, I believe last time we chatted, you were on the journey on more of a beginning stage. It wasn't that long after meeting Dr. O'Mara. I think you told us you were 44% body fat. And just as we
Yeah.
logged on today, I can see just right there in the neck and the face line, that's a really obvious thing. And so again, we know it's not just about the weight and the body fat percentage, but everything you're describing, to have better energy, to not have asthma, you're sleeping better and being so excited about life too. You were so excited during our last conversation. It's going to be surprising to see how much more excited and passionate you are this time. But congratulations. I love everything you said about making it, accessible, and it is just trying to make progress rather than be perfect with it all the time. Very happy for you in that. So thank you so much for sharing that. You did mention different types of fat, and I think this would be a really good segue into reminding us, what is visceral fat, how is it different from other types of fat, and what makes it so harmful?
Yes. So there are three types of fat in our body that are inflammatory and that are producing inflammation 24/7. And I like the number 24/7 because it reminds me that when I am on vacation or when I am working or when I am sleeping or when I am resting, the fats that are bad for my body, they are active. They are working 24/7 and they are producing inflammation that is damaging the body from head to toe. So the three types that are bad for your body, inflammatory, are the fat surrounding your heart, the epicardial adipose tissue, that it's in your chest, right? And surrounding the aorta, which is the major artery that you have here in your chest or in your body. And then the fat in your abdominal cavity, which is the visceral fat that we have been talking for a while already. And it's just beneath the abdominal musculature, and it surrounds the organs you have in your belly, almost like an ocean surrounding the organs, right? The liver, the pancreas, the spleen, everything in your belly. And then you have beneath your skin, you have two kinds of fat. You have the superficial subcutaneous fat, which is good. You don't need to have a lot, but it's good to have some of it because it produces adiponectin, which is protective to your cardiovascular system. And that's why it's not good for you when you have liposuction, because you think you are removing the fat and getting leaner, But yes, you are removing some of the fat, but you are also removing the fat that is beneficial, mainly, right? The main fat that you are removing would be the one that is beneficial, which is the superficial subcutaneous fat. And then we have a fascia, which is a band of collagen fibrous tissue that separates the superficial subcutaneous fat, which is not bad, from the deep subcutaneous fat, which comes together with visceral and epicardial fat in being inflammatory. And that's your love handles, right? So the deep subcutaneous fat is also inflammatory. And we can see all of them very well with the MRI that does not need a contrast injection, or if you had a CT exam from your chest or your abdomen, we are able to see that as well. They show up different, but we are able to see. If you have hadn't any exam, any imaging exam, the good one would be the MRI because you don't need contrast, IV, intravenous contrast, and you also don't get radiation, right? Ionizing radiation. So these are the three different types of fat. How are they formed? So when we eat carbs, which we don't need carbs at all for our bodies and our lives, when we eat carbs, they become glucose in our body through the metabolism from the liver. And then this glucose is used by the insulin that is released by the pancreas. This glucose is used by your muscles, is used by your organs, right? When you have too much carbs, that your liver gets to a point that it cannot produce more sugar, more glucose, it starts producing fat, which are the triglycerides. And then it releases the glucose that increases the insulin and leads to hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance. And it also releases, and high blood sugar, prediabetes, diabetes, dementia, but it also releases the triglycerides. The triglycerides in your fat cells, in your liver cells, they lead to fatty liver, fatty inflammation, and then it could lead, if not taken action, to liver fibrosis, cirrhosis, and even liver cancer. When your liver is releasing and producing triglycerides, it becomes even less sensitive to insulin. So it increases even more the insulin in your blood. That's why you have insulins that are 10, 12, 20, 40, right? Fasting insulin. And your body stops responding well to the insulin and leads to insulin resistance. All these triglycerides that are going to your blood, they have to go to some place. So the insulin leads to the fat cells, the adipocytes, to start storing the triglycerides. And that's when you start building the visceral fat, the epicardial adipose tissue fat, and the deep subcutaneous fat. So your fat cells, adipocytes, first increase in volume and then they increase in number. And they are storing the triglycerides to protect you somehow from the triglycerides to be sky rising, right? Because what is bad for you is not the cholesterol. What is bad for you is the relation between the HDL, which is the good cholesterol, and the triglycerides, right? That's what is bad. So then after increasing in volume and start increasing in size, the fat cells, which are the visceral fat, they are at the same time that all this is happening because it's a constant cycle, they are releasing inflammation. They are activating your immune system, fibroblasts, they are activating natural killers, T cells. So they are dysregulating your immune system. That's why when you are very severely metabolic sick, you are more propense to have infections, autoimmune diseases, and cancer because your immune system, which is supposed to protect you from this, is fighting the visceral fat and the inflammation happening here. That's why lots of people who died from COVID, the majority of them would be very obese or would have metabolic syndrome or hypertension or diabetes because the immune system, not only because of that, but one of the reasons is that their immune system was not working, not being free to fight the infection, but completely enslaved by the visceral fat. So, so at the same time, the visceral fat that is working, the inflammatory fats that are working 24/7, they are releasing cytokines, which are inflammatory molecules that are going throughout your body. And these cytokines are interleucin 1, 6, tumor factor necrosis alpha. They are activating macrophages. So it generates something that in immunology in medical school they would call the inflammation cascade. And it's one thing feeding the other, just this vicious cycle. And visceral fat also produces cortisol itself. So it's one feeding the other. The visceral fat keeps growing, the triglycerides keep increasing, the liver is repleted, the liver is completely sick as well. The pancreas is being replaced by fat. The body has inflammation all over, and your muscles start being replaced by fat, which is myosteatosis that could progress to sarcopenia. That's when you are very frail. And then you are also losing bone mass. And the visceral fat, the inflammation is very important because in your brain, for example, head to toe, in your brain, the inflammation could cause small vessel ischemic disease that affect your white matter. And it's important because it leads to damage on your speech, on your balance, on your memory, and your cognition. And it's called vascular dementia, right? And then you could also have Alzheimer's because you are not cleaning your brain properly. So then you have deposit of abnormal tau and amyloid protein. That's in your brain. And also cerebral volume loss or cerebral atrophy. In your eyes, you could have manifestation from diabetes, which is also the microvascular disease, and you could get blind. And then in your heart, in all arteries of your body, you are going to also have inflammation. So you could have heart attacks, you could have atrial fibrillation, you could have any other kind of cardiac arrhythmias, and you're going to have peripheral vascular disease. So you could have it's really hard for you to walk, starts hurting, and then you could have developed erectile dysfunction, all related to vascular disease. And in your aorta, you could have aneurysmal dilation, either in your chest or in your abdomen. And all the other inflammations, right? You could have inflammation in your bowel, inflammatory bowel disease. You could have inflammation in your liver, steatohepatitis. You could have, and there are at least 13 different types of cancer that have been proved to be correlated with visceral fat. So you could have pancreatic cancer, which is very high in mortality and morbidity, stomach cancer, gastric cancer, esophageal cancer, prostate cancer, leukemia, lymphoma, thyroid cancer. And in women, the major cancers are correlated with visceral fat, and that's when we should definitely pay attention by menopause, when we lose the protection of the good estrogen and we start increasing visceral fat. Because in women, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and endometrial cancer have a direct correlation with visceral fat too. And colon cancer, which is the one that my husband had and he died from it. Yes.
Wow, that is quite a lot. What a big problem for so many people out there. And it's so visual that you can see it. And I love the way that you kind of promote the MRI more so than just the scans that give you a number. You actually want to be able to see it, and that impact on the patient is so much greater. I hope our audience would probably already understand this a little bit, but in your mind, what are the top three things that somebody could do to fix this issue, reverse this problem? Because as I understand it, just because you have a lot of visceral fat doesn't mean you always have to. It is a problem that you can address and you can improve. In your mind, what are three things that you could do to be able to do that?
So simple and free, you should go to your pantry and you should eliminate completely 100% processed foods, ultra processed foods, carbs. And if you want to keep carbs in your diet, you definitely should try to go less than 50 grams or less than 25 grams a day, which would be low carb or keto. And you should choose the carbs that are low glycemic index, right? Like you're not going to eat a banana or an apple. You would prefer strawberry, blueberries, and raspberries, right? So again, eliminate all processed foods, ultra processed foods, carbs as much as possible, because you want your blood sugar to go down and you want your pancreas to have some relief from producing insulin until you get better from insulin resistance. No alcohol. Alcohol is very detrimental as well. No drugs, smokes, yeah, vape, marijuana, and so this is simple. And no vegetable oils. You go to your pantry and you clean that. And the next time you go to the grocery store, you walk in the periphery. You don't walk in the center aisles, right? The periphery has what you need. You need healthy food. So you need, if you're going to keep your carbs, you need like your salad, your greens. You need fruits that are low glycemic index. But mainly, what I do is I keep my carbs to the minimum. So I keep as much as possible a good quality of meat, grass-fed, grass-finished, and then also good chicken and fish and eggs. No milk, because milk is very inflammatory. You could have yogurt. Yogurt, again, natural, no sugar, or kefir. And as Sean teaches so well, you want to change your microbiome, which is the microbes that you have in your gut. Why? Because in your gut, there is the production of lots of neurotransmitters similar to your brain. So there is a definite correlation between the gut and the brain, and the microbiome is ruling you. So the bacteria that you have in your gut, they are ruling you. That's why you will have cravings for sugar and carbs and alcohol, because these are the microbiome, the bacteria that you have right now. So you do have to start replacing it with good bacteria, and that's by cutting everything that would nourish the bad bacteria and starting to implement the live food that he talks, the fermented veggies and fruits. You don't eat fermented veggies and fruits to feel like as if you are satisfied with food. The fermented veggies and fruits you eat as garnish, as if they are a little bit of mustard. That the more variety you have, the better. And then you eat them with your meat and eggs and cheese, processed cheese, yogurt and fish. One other thing that I tell myself is fasting is so helpful. But if you are not used to fasting, definitely you should start slowly and progress. If you feel sluggish, weak, like clumsy, and your hands are cold and you are sweating, you should definitely stop, because you don't want to do that. You want to start slowly and progress. Otherwise, you're going to give up, because you're only going to remember that you felt so sick, right? And we don't want anybody giving up. We want progress, not perfection. So start slowly. Fasting helps so much. There are different windows of fasting for different kinds of benefits. And so again, free so far, three things. Eliminate processed foods, ultra processed foods, alcohol, sugar, carbs, vegetable oils, drugs, smokes, vape. Second thing, work in buying food that is good quality and work on your fasting. And in the second thing, I would add, eat when you are hungry only, and stop when you are feeling satisfied, not overstuffed. So, like, it's not about, oh, at noon, it's my lunchtime. It's about, am I hungry? And then you ask yourself, okay, could I be thirsty? Because many times we are thirsty instead of being hungry. So I would say drink your water, see if it gets better. And then if it's not, could be being hungry. And then comes the mindset. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Or am I eating something that, or I want to eat because something around me is triggering me, and that's when you start changing the your like mind dominating you, and you start dominating your behavior. So, and together with this nutrition here, I would put water as well. Work on being hydrated, and it's really good to get apple cider vinegar and fasting electrolytes and mineral salt. And it's really good, if you don't have it, to invest on having good quality of water in your house. Uh, it's very expensive. So what I did for me is I got a chlorine filter for the whole house water, which is not very expensive, but I did not get a reverse osmosis filter for the whole house because it would be very expensive. But I did get a reverse osmosis filter that goes in my kitchen sink. So the drinkable water has a reverse osmosis filter, and the water that I get a shower or wash my clothes, they are chlorine filtered water. And I would say sun and sleep
Awesome.
because they come together. And so far, the only thing I said that you probably would have to spend money would be the water treatment. Everything else you could do for free, right?
Love that. Wow. So thank you so much for explaining all of that. Those are all great tips that I know our audience will really love. So thank you for that. Again, before we started this conversation, I really jumped into your presentation. I would have thought this would have been a big jumping off point. Okay, now over here in this first half hour, we were talking about metabolic health. Now we're going to shift gears completely, and this has nothing to do with metabolic health. And it really does. I was so surprised to hear you describing how much gratitude can have to do with metabolic health, and we're going to make those links. But before we do, I want to go back into your journey, um, and rather than talk so much about your health, I want to talk kind of emotionally about the things that led you to this. You mentioned already in this conversation, you mentioned it a little bit in the last conversation. You lost your husband almost a decade ago. That must have been absolutely terrible to have front row seat to that, to know what the diagnosis was and how that was progressing. It was beautiful that you opened your presentation with a picture of the two of you. And on one of the pictures, you said that you were grateful in a sense that this had happened. And it's so hard to reconcile. Like, how can something so terrible be something that she's really grateful for? And so, as much detail as you want to go into, I'll let you decide. But can you tell us kind of how you started to learn about the importance of gratitude in your own life through some pretty difficult events?
Yes. Um, yes, definitely. So, my in Brazil, my grandma used to live with us when I was a child. So, when I was 7 years old, my parents divorced. And they used to fight a lot. So I remember like being afraid sometimes by listening to them arguing with each other. And my grandma used to sleep in the same bedroom with my sister and I. So I would say, Grandma, I would show that I was kind of scared, right? So my grandma would come, and she didn't even know how to write or read. She would sign her names with her thumb, her name with a thumb. But she would come to me and say, Hey, just close your eyes and talk to God. And I'm like, how do I talk to God? I had no idea what God or who God was. And she would say, God is your friend. Just talk to God as if you would be talking to me. And then I would fall asleep. So I built this relationship with God as my friend. And I take a shower and I'm talking to God. I'm very faithful. But again, this is not about religion, right? This is about your heart. This is about how you connected with the goodness you have in your heart, the goodness from your soul, which for me comes from God, but for each one of you could come from the creator, the universe, whatever you believe. But anyway, I'm really grateful that my grandma taught me since I was little, because throughout my life, I had many things that were difficult. Like my first husband, it was a very abusive relationship in Brazil, with all kinds of abuse. And it was very painful. But I am grateful that I had that time with him. I was not aware of the gratitude. And I want to bring this for each one of you who are going through something very difficult right now. It's impossible to feel gratitude for something difficult that you are going through when you are going through the fire, right? It's when you walked 3/4 of the fire that you are already becoming the fire yourself, that you start finding the gift or the lesson, right? That is in that. So after I divorced, I am grateful because I see that I was trying to run away from my first husband. So I was never home. So I was working so much in Sao Paulo, and I got my PhD. I built such an amazing resume, and that amazing resume opened the doors for me to be in the United States when God brought me here. So, yes, there was something there was a gift from that situation, right? Uh, when I was here and my husband got sick, I really couldn't see anything that I could be grateful at that moment because my mom died from ovarian cancer. So I am like, and what am I doing here in the United States for my husband, who was the reason I moved here to the United States to be dying, right? But he would say, I am grateful because you have the experience that you took care a little bit of your mom. You have the experience because you are a doctor, and you are my wife. You are loving, you are caring, and you are walking this journey holding my hands. So he had the gratitude at that point. I did not. I was mad at God. I was angry. And I know there will be lots of things in my grief journey that I will never understand or I will never accept. But that's okay because that's God's lane, my husband's lane, and I only control my lane. And, but whenever I die, I could ask God, but to be honest, when I die, that's not going to be important for me anymore, right? So I'm just surrendering and releasing. So after my husband died in 2016, the first 6 to 8 months, I was just working, coming home, closing all my windows, blinds, and sleeping. I would be working and sleeping. The only thing that would make me not sleep at a specific time was my dog, which I was so mad that I had a dog, but he saved me, because I would like, oh my God, I just don't want to get up to put this dog to go out to pee or walk with this dog, but I had to do it, so it was good because he saved me. He connected me to life, right? So after 8 to 9 months, I kind of started my questioning, like, I can't do this forever, I connected to my faith again, like there is a reason, there is a lesson, like asking, there is a reason, not a lesson. There is a reason that all this happened. So I got out from why is this happening to me to what does life want from me right now? Right? I'm here. If I'm not dead, I still have something that my soul is supposed to do through my body, right? So I was like, I'm not a victim, right? So what God, and I survived other things, and I survived my husband dying, and I survived burning him, making him become ashes, because I tell myself when I'm going through something difficult, I tell myself, I survived. It's kind of very strong, the visual, because exactly that's the point of telling my brain, I survived burning my husband. I am able to endure whatever comes my way. So then I started asking, not why, but what is the lesson? What am I supposed to do with my life? What am I supposed to do with everything, with the abuse, with moving abroad, with his illness, with my life? And I started reading about grief and how to heal from grief. And then I met my first grief group that I was a client with Tom Zuba, Permission to Mourn, which is an amazing book, very little book, very small book. Oh man, I don't have it here, but it's a very small book. And it teaches you to ask questions that definitely connect you uh, with new beliefs. Again, the mindset, right? You start shifting from pain to peace, from scarcity to abundance, from longing to love, and knowing that the relationship continues in a different way because the body dies, but the soul, the spirit, the energy does not. So that's when I did my first group with him. And we started practicing gratitude because it was around Thanksgiving. And we created like accountability partnerships. And the more I practiced gratitude, by just three things. I'm grateful for water. I'm grateful for waking up. I'm grateful for my shower. Simple as that. You don't need to overthink. The more I started practicing gratitude, the more I started seeing that there was beauty around me and that I could allow my husband, his soul, to experiment life with me through me. And like again, I could build me and I could build the new life with him, not moving forward or moving on, but moving with. And then I started learning more and more about gratitude. And then I got certified with Jay Shetty, which is a monk. And then later on, like last year, I got certified by David Kessler, which talks about building meaning in your grief. And that's how I found gratitude. And then I did this course with Andrew Huberman, which was a course that he did together with a prior Marine. And he gives all the science, right? He gives the science that they evaluated some people, and the people who were practicing gratitude within other 24 traits like kindness and emotional intelligence. The people who were practicing gratitude were the people who felt more optimal in life, felt more connected with life. The other study was showing that people who had cardiovascular disease, they, by practicing gratitude, they decreased stress, they decreased cortisol, they decreased blood sugar, they decreased insulin, therefore they decreased inflammation, they decreased blood pressure, and they improved from the heart disease, right, because they were improving from inflammation. And all this. So he was in another study that I loved because it was with functional MRI, showing that when you practice gratitude, two areas of your brain lit up in the MRI, which are the area that releases oxytocin, which is love, mom's love, bonding, connection, acceptance, belonging, right? Being seen, being heard, being valued, being honored, being understood, which is what all of us want and need as humans. And the other area was the area that releases dopamine. And dopamine is the reward system that we are frantically, whatever, looking on social media. And we don't need social media to give us dopamine. We can build our own dopamine by practicing gratitude or rewiring our brain on how we do the things that are important for us by committing, planning. It's like clarity on knowing what you want, commitment, consistency, repetition, courage to do it, and compassion when you're not knowing that you're doing your best. And the most important, which is the celebration, because we always celebrate others, but we always forget to celebrate ourselves. And if you don't celebrate yourself when you do something for you, which might be this little, but if you don't celebrate, you do not close the cycle in your brain because you do not release dopamine. Dopamine is the reward, and that's when your brain locks. Oh, I can trust her. Oh, she said she was going to do it, and she did it. And celebrating yourself is simple as Tony Robbins says in his courses that I did so many. Give a tap on your back, or put a big smile in your face, or high five yourself in the mirror, or hug yourself. I like hugging myself because I like doing that a lot. So when you do that, you are also releasing oxytocin. And other studies showed that when you are practicing gratitude, you are releasing a substance that is called DHEA. And this is an antidepressant substance. So again, gratitude, like Ben Azadi says, is vitamin G because it definitely changes your neurotransmitters, your hormones, your sleep. You know, you could practice in the morning or evening. But what I want to say is that in my conference, in my lecture at the conference, I did explain all the science. But when I finished, I just wanted people to know that yes, the science is great, but it's knowledge, right? Is awareness. Knowledge and awareness are useless if you don't put into action. So gratitude is what there is a Sioux tribe here in the United States that they say the longest journey of your life will be the journey from your head to your heart. So I invite all of you who are listening to us, get all the knowledge you need about gratitude, about whatever, but allow yourself to move from the knowledge that is in your head to your heart, where you feel why the change is important for you, where you feel that I have goosebumps, where you feel that looking in your eye makes me feel like I belong. Like I was at this beautiful place at the Dominican Republic, and they put their hands on their heart and they say, Hola, so beautiful. And then I learned their names, Johanna, Felix, Juan Jose, Manuel, because that's gratitude. When you allow yourself to connect with another human being as similar as in souls, not politics, but similar in souls. You're not better than me, you are not worse than me. We are similar as souls. And we have different gifts and different attributes to give here through our bodies. So that's what I was saying. Gratitude comes from your heart. Gratitude, like Andrew Huberman says here, gratitude is not like a soft skill. It's not like soft fluff. I don't remember. You said something fluffy, right? Yeah, gratitude is not that. He explains very well. Gratitude is a skill that you develop, is a character strength, it's a trait in your personality that you develop. And when you develop gratitude, you just radiate goodness, you know? And your brain, what happens in your brain is that what you focus is where your attention goes and it's how you behave, right? So if I tell you I like I like blue things. I just saw my mouse, right? And I didn't even look to the mouse yet. I was saying I like blue things. Now I see the light that is blue on the camera. Your brain has an area called reticular activating system, or RAS. And that's the area that you teach your brain what is important for you. And it's not positive thinking, it's you teaching your brain what is important for you. So when you start focusing on what is good and what is abundant around you, your brain will start bringing more of what is good and what is abundant towards for you. Like if you tell yourself I am a handsome guy and you go walk on the street, you're going to see the people who are looking at you and smiling, and you're going to feel, oh, they see that I am a handsome guy. You are not going, your brain is not going to pay attention to the people that are like turning your nose to you, because you are teaching your brain. And it's not, again, it's not positive thinking. It's also something called cognitive reappraisal. Is when you look at your setbacks and you find something there that is your gift. Not why it happened, but what life wanted from you and what was the lesson on that. For example, my gift from my first husband, the the absolute amazing resume that I built that brought me here. My gift from my husband dying, I was able to care and be there for him and build an amazing love that I know that the relationship continues. And here I am talking about gratitude and inspiring other people. Again, like I told in the conference, I would not want my husband to die, so I would be here talking about gratitude. I would rather him being alive, and I would have never met you, Casey, but that was the lane of God, that I have no control, that I surrender, but I get the gift, which is now I am able to be here telling you, move from your head to your heart,
It's
including
absolutely.
including to burn your visceral fat. You have to move from your head to your heart.
I love that. That is absolutely beautiful. One of the primary reasons that I've stayed on a carnivore diet for as long as I have, about 6.5 years, is it really helps with my anxiety. I realized, a few weeks into trying a carnivore diet, that I was always spinning in anxiety, and it certainly has gotten way, way better. But I still have that tendency to kind of think about and worry about the things that may or really may not ever happen to me. I'm gonna mess this up. There's like a Mark Twain quote that goes something like, "I'm a man of many troubles, most of which never really happened," or something like that.
Yeah.
And listening to you about this in preparation, I had a good 40 minutes to go walk around the lake near my house before we got on this call, and I decided to turn my phone off. And I was going to vocalize it in the way that you described and how to do it. And I said, here's I picked three different things. I believe it was like the sunshine and the opportunity to come to have a conversation with you and my last client of the day that I just had, and not only saying those things but also explaining, why those things. And I realized like nothing has changed. Like the day is the exact same that it was before. Anything good or bad or whatever was going to happen was still going to happen, but you have a different lightness. Like you feel different when you do that, especially when you find a way to express it, write it down or say it out loud or something. So it's just interesting how life is always happening. We think it's happening to us, but it's really happening for us. And by
Or
talking about gratitude and having a way to express it, it is very powerful, even in short little bursts like that. And so as you said, like there's the difference between the science and the knowledge, which we love, and I love that that's done, and
me
I'm glad
too.
that's a part of this conversation. But the main takeaway is, like you said, the distance between your head and your heart. How do people incorporate this? What are things that you recommend? I know you said that it could be done anytime, but I realize like again, finding a way to express it, or saying why you're grateful for something. Why are those also important?
So it is a practice, right? So you start like you did. You disconnect from what is around you and you just allow yourself, okay, three gratefuls in the morning. And I love doing this with my accountability partners. I text my friend Christine and I text my boyfriend now, Craig, in the morning, and we share our gratefuls. So in the beginning, for someone who is starting, it's going to be like, oh my God, looking around, what am I grateful for, what am I grateful for? You're going to feel like it's one more thing for you to be overwhelmed. Again, it's supposed to be simple, easy, fun. It's not supposed to bring overwhelm. Grab your child, grab your husband, grab a friend, and build an accountability partnership that you share your gratefuls every day in the morning. 3, so you could say, I am grateful for Zoom. I am grateful for water. I am grateful for the sun. In the beginning, if you only do that, that's okay. It's like foundation, right? And then as you progress and you keep advancing, the more specific and the more detailed you are, the more your brain is going to believe in you, right? The more your brain is going to believe that you really trust what you're saying, that it really matters to you. So then you start being detailed, which is zoom in, zoom out, and also expanding the chain. So again, I am grateful for Zoom because I can record this video with you. I can see you while we are talking, and I can be together with your people, right? That wouldn't happen like 10 years, whatever, 30 years ago. So I am grateful for Zoom. I am grateful for my furnace because it keeps my house warm and also keeps my house cold whenever in the year I need both of them. I am grateful for my job because it allows me to have an income that also allows me to start building the coaching business that I can get zero money right now and just let it go, right? To touch and connect with other people. So you start like building. Or I am grateful for meat in my fridge that nourishes my body. And I am grateful for the farmers who took care of the cows, and I am grateful for the soil, and you could go back in the chain, and it's proven that when you are sending good energy travels, right? So it is proven that when you are sending energy, that these people might receive your good energy. So, three things in the morning. One other thing that I should say, be grateful for you. Just look in the mirror every morning, like Mel Robbins say. When you are brushing your teeth, just stack one habit on top of another one that already exists, and you high five yourself. Be grateful for yourself. Another thing, which is what Dr. Daniel Amen and Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about, bless you, Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about, is doing it at night. So usually when we go to bed, we start overthinking of the things that didn't work, and we might have to do them tomorrow again. When you start overthinking, a good thing to do is write them, get up, write them down, and leave them in the kitchen for tomorrow. And then you come back to your bed, or if you are already overthinking, but you don't want to write anything down because I'm lazy about doing that. So what I do is I just close my eyes. I take my deep breaths in and out with my hands in my heart, right? And then like, long exhale, and I do it for 3 or 5 times. And then I repeat to myself, I am safe, I am okay, I am loved, I belong. You could repeat whatever makes you feel good. This is turning down the alarm from my amygdala, which is the stress center in your brain that releases cortisol. And it is activating the vagus nerve, which is from the parasympathetic nervous system, and it's calming you down. And you could use this technique wherever you are. You are in a meeting, you are on the traffic, you could use this technique of breathing. So after I calmed down, then I go and I say, one win, at least one win for the day. What was my one win for the day? I walked my steps. I was fasting. I met with you. Just one. And then you are already like being grateful, or three gratefuls. But if you only say one win and do not focus on the things that happened that did not work, because again, they are not your failure. They are something that you should reevaluate in the system and make it easy and make it fun and do it again. And one thing that it's really amazing, and it's more time consuming, but it's really amazing, and again came from the course with Andrew Huberman, is write a letter of gratitude and appreciation to someone you love who has helped you a lot. If this person has died, that's okay. This person will still receive your letter and your words because the souls are connected through the hearts. However, if the person is alive, don't allow your window to close, because our windows are closing. None of us know when we are not going to be here anymore. So write your letter, handwritten, because it also connects better with your brain, the right side of your brain. I think it's the right side. I might be messing up right now. And then you call that person or schedule to see the person in a Zoom meeting, FaceTime, or a breakfast, and read the letter. Allow yourself to pour your love and appreciation. And I did that with my brother-in-law when I was doing this course. And we are together, like he's married with my sister for 30 years and we are together for 35. So, and we walked lots of difficult journeys, like my mom dying, my mom with ovarian cancer, my divorce in Brazil. So he looked at me and he said that he never thought that he would have been important for anyone in this life like he felt loved by my gratitude. So you never know how you're going to touch someone. Do not take anyone or anything for granted. And on that note, stop being your best enemy and write a letter of gratitude to yourself, because each one of us have endured lots of difficult things and we are here. So we deserve to be loved by ourselves. Like put your oxygen mask first. There's a reason. Otherwise, you're going to faint, right? So allow yourself to put the oxygen mask first with sleep, with gratitude, with prioritizing yourself on the things you need for your health. And then let it overflow you, let it fill you, and then let it overflow. And I love that. Put your oxygen mask first. I always remind me of that. Practice gratitude, practice kindness to yourself, and write a letter of gratitude to you. Write a letter of gratitude to something that really broke you, something that really shattered yourself, that you cannot be the person you were anymore, or something that shattered your dreams, your life. Yeah, yeah. I love gratitude. That's why I'm on a Rosa gratitude everywhere. But like, I just feel we have so much to give, like, this is very personal. Like this past Wednesday, I had a medical emergency, and I almost died. I had to go to the emergency department, and I thought I was having a stroke, but it was just a horrible metabolic, whatever happened, I don't know. But like my vision got blurred, and I had slurred speech. I was talking to my boyfriend, and we were talking about ADHD brain, since I'm studying right now ADHD brain because I want to understand. And I said ADHD brain, and I said ADHD brain, and I'm like, what's going on with me? And then I got dizzy, and I called him closer because he was in the living room and I was in the kitchen. And I said, this is really serious. And then he came, and I smiled, and he said, do you think you're having a stroke? And I said, am I smiling well? And he said, yes. But again, it was really hard for him to understand what I was speaking because my speech was blurred. It looked like as if I had drunk like 10 liters of alcohol. I am not a drinking person, but I was drunk, and I could feel my body, but I didn't have enough strength in my body. When I turned to him to show my smile, if he wasn't close to me, I would have fallen. He held me, because I had no strength in my arms or my legs. And then I told him I needed to go pee, and he helped me go to the toilet, and then I couldn't stand up. I had no strength in my legs. And then I told him, could we just lay down? And he said, no, I'm bringing you to the ER. And I said, could we just lay down for like 3 minutes? And he accepted because I am stubborn. But like when he put me on the bed, I laid down like, oh, like when your body just like a floppy thing. I was a floppy piece of meat. Uh, so I definitely felt like, oh man, I am dying. And I felt this peace and this calmness that I'm like, that's weird because I have been always afraid of dying. How am I feeling that peaceful, believing that I'm dying right now? Anyway, um, here we are talking about gratitude that we have not planned about it at all. You and I, we were talking about visceral fat. And I just want to say, be grateful for each and every second that you have. Look around like the Hamilton play, right? In Broadway. Hamilton, your guy, yeah. Um, look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. And then it says, look at where we are, look at where we started. Just be grateful for each and every second, even when you are going through hell, because there is a gift. You will find it later. I'm holding on to you through the heart of my soul memory picture, right? That I say as a radiologist. But just be grateful and look back at your measured progress, because there is measured progress. Little steps lead to big differences in your life. Sometimes when you are deep, deep, deep in something that is hurtful, like grief, you can't see the light, and you don't believe you are getting better because there are so many steps backwards, right? But you are healing. We are all healing from something. And when you stop and you look, okay, how was I feeling when I saw my husband's body leaving the house in the funeral car? I am not there anymore. So that is measured progress, you know. So always look for a little bit of progress and celebrate, because the difference from being alive and being dead, it's way less than 2 seconds or 3 seconds. But like in 3 seconds, Wednesday I was normal and suddenly I was semi-dead. So what I want, yeah, it's kind of it. I don't believe in coincidences, so I have this story to share because there is a reason as well.
It's amazing that you brought that up to look back on the past, because this entire conversation I've been thinking like the person sitting in front of me doing this conversation is completely different from the one I talked to 2 years ago. The
Oh,
level of confidence and assuredness, that the ability of you to like show your spirit and your countenance, it's completely different just in 2 years. And to just have like such an amazing section of podcasting talking about gratitude and sharing that journey of yeah, maybe you wouldn't have been here, our windows are all closing. And even to top it off with my absolute favorite play on the entire world that have like memorized Hamilton. Like this has been such an amazing and beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful that nothing serious happened last week because it would have been very sad to not have this conversation. And this one was really,
It's
really special.
Wednesday, the day before yesterday.
Wow. Oh, 2 days ago it happened.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, yeah, just it's such an amazing lesson to know that like we're here so briefly, and to really try to appreciate that, and that, again, gratitude has roots in science and it has been studied, but also it's something that we can do in practice. And you've given us so many great and wonderful tips. And I don't know how else to end this conversation by saying I'm so very grateful for you for taking the time to come on our show today and teach us about something that is truly, and very clearly very valuable to you, that you're working to share with others, that is helping a lot of people. So we're, on behalf of the audience as well, we're all very grateful for everybody who's watching and listening, and we just really, really appreciate you. For now, Anna, where would you like people to go to find you and connect with you in your work?
Thank you so much. I love you all from my soul. I do, because we are equals as souls. And I am Ana Rosa Gratitude on Instagram or TikTok. And you could find me on Facebook too and YouTube. And right now I am creating a program. I have created, but I'm gonna open a little bit more. I created a program called Optimize You Life Program, which is where I do talk about the body strategies, nutrition, hydration, and movement. But again, lots of people are talking about that are probably way more knowledgeable than I am. Shan, Atia, Chapi. And what I really want to help others with my heart is how from the third module ahead, how you reframe your mindset, breaking the beliefs, the thoughts, the emotions that are hurtful and sabotaging you, and how you build a different way of making decisions, choices, and how you teach your brain to become your best friend and accountability partner, to trust you so you build sustainable success. So, Optimize You Life Program. You could find me at Ana Rosa Gratitude Instagram and or YouTube. And I also have a grief group. It's called Grief Support Circle. So it's two different avenues of my work that I serve with my heart. And if you are going through grief, or if someone you love dearly is going through grief, um, you could contact me as well. And it's doing grief in a different way, doing grief like Tom Zuba taught me and David Kessler taught me, um, embracing, witnessing, seeing, being seen, being heard, being honored, being valued on your pace, on your time, and shifting the perspective from grief to gratitude and building life with your loved one. So, both avenues, I am here to hold your hands and walk with you. Yes.
That's amazing. I love that. We can't mention your Instagram without also mentioning that we gotta throw a bone to our Portuguese speakers out there. Hopefully, there's some, because you also have a page that's Ana Rosa Gratidão, correct?
Yeah, I have a Brazilian page. It's called Ana Rosa Medicina e Amor. It's not really Ana Rosa Gratidão. I was gonna put Ana Rosa Gratidão, which is gratitude in Portuguese, but somehow I don't know why. It seems that the Brazilian culture kind of made a lot of fun with the gratitude word. So it's not, yeah. Anyway, I am really grateful to be here, and I'm really honored. And I definitely would tell you, each one of you, practice gratitude, experiment, let it resonate with yourself, with your heart, and you will definitely see how Casey said that the world around you doesn't change, but you change how you see the world around you and how you put yourself in the world around you. And for everything you want in your life, doesn't matter if it's visceral fat or a good relationship, everything, you have to work on your mindset, because your mind guides your body and your body takes care of your mind.
Love that. Wow. Well, again, we are so grateful for you for coming onto our show today to share that message. Thank you so very much, Anna. That was really, really special.
Thank
We're very grateful for you. Thank you so
thank you.
much. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.